Okay, welcome to the show. This is TED Talks Too Much. And we've got another great one for you today. I am Ted Moss, ex-sidewalk sweeper, stand-up comedian, and your host. We are located in the OK Boomer Studios, just outside of Flint, Michigan. That's right, Flint! Michigan's water wonderland, where they're still wondering when they'll get some clean water. But while we all wait for that, let's talk. And on today's show, we got part 2 of Tom E Thompson. We're going to tell you everything you ever wanted to know about stand-up comedy and a little bit more. Tommy is a really humble guy, but pretty successful stand-up comedian. And he's going to share a lot of his thoughts with us. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
This is your Big Buddy Bob at the State Department. It has come to our attention that there has been some muffled murmurs and undertones of discontent due to the apparent disconnect between the orders of the governor and the containment for COVID-19. Let me assure you, and I cannot emphasize this enough, that these serious restrictions are strictly for the health and safety and sole and singular benefit of the people of the great state of Michigan. So as to mitigate some of the turmoil, and for those who are most concerned, let me offer the following. As for the service ban on lawn care, if you stop and consider the ruffians that actually travel from town to town, street to street, and literally house to house, you can begin to imagine our concerns. Why, just last year, my lawn care provider actually spoke to me directly 3 different times as he drove by at a distance of no less than 50 feet. Was it a coincidence that each and every time he was upwind from my position? I think not. But if your lawn does get too long, know that you can always mow your own. Don't own a lawnmower? No problem. Just go to mowerstogo.com and they can have one in your driveway tomorrow. Make sure you tell my cousin Jimmy Bob sent you. As for the ban on the purchase of paint, what are you people thinking? I mean, how much paint do you really need? I invite you to walk outside and back into your house. And as you travel from room to room, note that each and every door, wall, and ceiling is already painted. I would venture to guess that most of you have a can or 2 stashed away for a rainy day. So just pretend it's raining. Use what you got. And if you want to go buy something, buy toilet paper. There is no ban on that. Actually, you can buy all you want. Can't find it? No problem. Just go to toilet2shoestogo.com and use the discount code of Uncle Bob and never pay more than triple MSRP. Last but not least, the ban on the activity fishing. Let me say, fishing is not banned. It's only fishing from a boat that has an attached gas or electric motor that is banned. Do you have any idea what propellers churning up waters in the local lakes would do to COVID-19? Well, neither do we. And that's exactly why we're not going to allow it to happen. So take your boat out, fish to your heart's content. That's not banned. However, if you happen to find yourself in need of lake equipment, my brother Tommy just opened a paddle and oar emporium that's offering express deliveries to driveways across the state of Michigan. Just go to paddlestogo.com and start fishing today.
Okay, here we go with part 2 of my interview with Tom E Thompson. We're going to discuss the mindset of stand-up comedians, Bernie Mac's breakout performance at the Apollo, and dating from the friend zone. So let's once again give a OK Boomer Studio welcome my good friend, Mr. Tom E Thompson. Let me ask you about comedy a little bit. You know what? You've kind of made it to that next level where you're actually a professional touring comedian. And, you know, we got a lot of comics in Detroit that do open mics, and they do I'd have to call them beginner shows, you know, where they're going to pay a couple bucks, but not much to show up and try and be funny for a few people.
Yeah, like showcase shows or whatever.
Yeah. You know, and Bonto does a lot of shows that have great audiences, don't pay much, but it's great experience. It's a great way to learn. My question is, how do you break it down as far as the way you think about comedy? Now, I know you got to write things that are kind of clever, and I know you have to perform things in a way that probably seems natural or familiar to the people you're talking to. But how do you become excellent at comedy, knowing that everybody has a different style? What advice would you give one of those lower or mid-range comics that are trying to become a touring professional comedian?
Well, I mean, thank you for all those accolades. I still think that I'm somehow sneaking in there, you know, and I know a lot of people that I hear that a lot. A lot of features that headlines sometimes say the same thing. You know, we just can't believe we're there because we still don't feel that, you know, I mean, I started headlining in clubs just a little over a year ago. And I feel like I can do it pretty well. It's hard for me to say that. I'm definitely, you know, I would say I'm a good feature and a pretty good headliner most of the time. Again, It's hard for me to talk because I'm constantly critiquing myself. But I mean, I shouldn't even say that I've been pretty good. I don't know. The audience seems to like me somehow.
Hold on. Let me preface it and tell you that if you're a good-looking woman and you walk in a bar, you know you're good looking, you know what? And if you're a comedian and you have a good set, you know that you killed. You just know you did. If the room is with you and that set went well, you know that. If you go in a place and you just bomb, you know that too. So to say that overall, because you can have good shows and bad shows, but overall you're stronger than most, I think that's okay. I think you got to know where you're at in order to figure out how to improve. Like with me, for instance, I think my presentation sucks. I think I'm mediocre to poor at presentation. I think my writing is stronger than my presentation. So I think of that as the area that I would have to work on if I wanted to, you know, get better. But I think it's okay for you to say that you know that you're better than most, but not as good as you want to be.
Again, I can't say that I'm better than. I see what you're saying, and I appreciate it. It's just hard for me to choose my words because I'm very. I try to, you know, I'm as a person. God, this is tongue twisting me. I'll tell you something that me and Bill Bouchard, great comedian from Detroit, we're doing a show probably about 2 years ago now, and this really changed a lot for me. I remember the exact moment that this clicked in my head, and it totally shifted gears for me. I said to Bill, we were doing this packed house. There's probably like 200 people in the VFW hall. They were ready to go. They were excited. I said to Bill, I don't think I have the confidence to do this for a living. I don't think I always psych myself out. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I have the confidence. And he said, Tommy, we're all faking the confidence. And that flips me on my head because I'm like, holy shit, I can go up there and act confident. And that's what I do. I go up there and I act confident. You know, I slap high fives. Hey, stupid shirt on this guy. You know, whatever goofy thing. And in turn, I found out like faking the confidence, you find a real confidence. If that makes sense.
No, that's great. No, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'll never forget that because he said, Tommy, we're all faking the confidence. And then I was like, holy shit, that's so right. We don't really have to have it. We just got to pretend like we have it.
Right. And be convincing in our pretending.
Yeah, and then it comes out. And then you realize that, you do have it. It's a way of being, I guess, confident and not cocky. You know,
I
think if you're cocky on stage, you're not going to be likable. But if you're confident, then you can still be yourself. You know, you can still smile. You still have that you're very genuine. And I think
Right.
that was a huge turning point for me, just going, oh shit, I can just go up there and act like I know what I'm doing, instead of being another thing that I talk about a lot is, I was watching Tracy Morgan on, I don't know if it was Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert, but, he said something that changed me too. He said, anxiousness means you can't wait for it to start. Nervousness means you can't wait for it to be over. So whenever when I started feeling nervous, I just channeled it into anxiousness. And so then I wasn't scared of the show anymore. I just wanted it to start. I just used those nerves in a positive way. So instead of being nervous, because nervous means you can't wait for it to be over, anxiousness means you can't wait for it to start.
That's funny. My daughter played a very high level of golf. She was nationally ranked, and she played on a college team. And she was on a team that had the D2 national champion the previous year, and a girl that won the some competition up in Canada to get on the team. Just all these high level players. And her first time starting in an event when she was a freshman, she was on the tee. And all these girls can play. I mean, they're all in low single digits. They're all 4 handicaps, 3 handicaps, playing from the whites. They're all good. And the coach walked up and said, "Are you nervous?" And she said, "No." She said, "You aren't?" She said, "No, I'm excited." So go. I think it's the same thing. I think it's the exact same thing. Yeah, it's how you perceive it. You know something's going on inside, and whether you define that as uncomfortable or an anticipation of something really fun just might happen here. In golf, you can have a terrible round just like comedy, but you can also really go out there and play well and just hit everything. Go, this is awesome. And you're going to have some bad shots, just like in comedy. You're going to have some bad jokes, but then you're going to bring it back around. So yeah, I think that it's a mindset, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I think the more you're able to be genuine and be yourself on stage, the more the audience will pick up on that. I hear a lot of new comedians will ask, people like, I guess in my position, or even veteran headliners and stuff, like, this is my first time, what do I do? And it's always have fun. And I say it too, but I don't know if they know how to have fun yet. But once you start having fun on stage, that's when it's like it opens up a whole new world. When you're having fun, you have the confidence, you can go in there, you can make these people, not necessarily, I don't really say I'm going to go in there and make them laugh. I'm going to go in there and make them have a good time. I'm going to have a good time. They're going to have a good time with me.
They're going to be entertained by what you do. Yeah, I think that's great. No, that's great advice.
I'm going to, and I'm very, I like to talk to the audience a lot, and all my stuff. I mean, of course, there's some artistic exaggeration a little bit here and there, but all my stuff is 100. It's real. I only write stuff that really happened or I really thought of or something like that. And I want to get to the point one day of where it's just real life stories, which I'm kind of working towards, and I think most of my stuff is right now.
Right.
But the more real I can be on stage, I think once I turn that corner, and Dave Landau and Matt Holt, the guy from Kentucky that I mentioned earlier, I mean, just them guys taking me out on the road with them and believing in me is just like, it was so huge because, Dave and Matt grabbed me early on. Well, I met Matt through Dave. Dave gave me a lot of confidence early on. I could tell stories and stories of Dave just being so good to me. But and then he introduced me to Matt, and then Matt took me out and, really became my biggest supporter on the road. We've been out many times, and he's, hooked me up with a lot of agencies. So just those guys believing in me and telling me like, hey, you're doing this. You're better than what you think you are, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that's what really, helped.
Yeah. I think my problem is that I don't think I'm believable on stage. And for 2 reasons. I have a tendency to go into this, I don't know if it's a voice or personality that's, hey, glad, it doesn't sound sincere. And also, my life experiences are somewhat unbelievable. I mean, They just are. I mean, I really was on Black People Meet. I really got on that site to see who I can meet on Black People Meet. I was really on disabilitydating.com. I really did these things. You know, when they had chat rooms, my name on the chat room was Raymond de Lovebuck. You know, I mean, this is just the kind of shit I do. But if I get on stage and say it, yeah, I was on Black People Meet, the people aren't believing it. And I'm like, no, really. I met a white girl on Black People Meet. And it's true.
Right.
And no, I'm like, I don't have what you're looking for, but it's nice to meet you. And I tell that as a joke, but it's absolutely factual. But I think the problem is conveying it in a way that people think is sincere and funny. I think it's got to be both. It's got to sound like it's real. And I always struggled with trying to make my stuff sound real.
I know you have that. I know you won contests and stuff, and I know you're funny because I've worked with you. Have you done feature sets? Have you done longer sets?
Yes.
Okay,
I've done up to 40 minutes.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah. I think. Well, then, yeah. I think like the more the audience gets to know you and know, it's. I think it's. I've always thought you're funny. Every time I've been on a show with you, I think you have a really good stage presence. I think you're very likable on stage.
Oh, I think you're wrong. I'm so wrong, dude. You just have bad judgment.
But you won contests, so you know that you're likable. You know.
With some groups, you know, with some groups, I hit home. It's kind of like. With me, I always think about it this way, and this could be right or wrong because I don't know. I always feel like I'm going to take you on this ride. This is really who I am and how I think of things. This is how they appear in my brain. And if you're with me and you like me, we're going to have fun. But if you're like 35 years old, you're an old white man, I don't want to hear from you anyhow. Or if you think that I'm being insincere, then I can have rooms I struggle with. Now, for whatever reason, I do great in black rooms. I mean, you give me a room that's 80, 90. I did a room in Flint, 100% black. I was the only white person in the room, and I was saying, I don't think I have enough Negro jokes. And they laughed their ass off. Don't know why. But honestly, they thought it was hilarious. And I was just showing that I was an old, dumb white person, I guess. But for whatever reason, but also black rooms, it will judge you if you're not comfortable. If you look nervous in front of a black room, it's like that place in Greenwich. What is it in New York City where they rub the stone before they come out and they have the hook and they'll pull you off stage? What's the name of that place?
Is that the Apollo?
Yeah. All black rooms are like the Apollo. Like if they see that you're faking it, they're going to boo you.
Dude,
they're just sitting on their hands, man. They're going to boo you off stage like, get the hell out of here, dude. You know,
have you ever seen
rough.
Have you ever seen Bernie Mac's breakthrough set?
No, probably not.
I don't know. You got to YouTube this, Ted. This is amazing. It's Bernie Mac. I think everybody knows Bernie Mac. He's unfortunately passed away now, and Bernie Mac show. The backstory to it is amazing, and I might not have all the details correct, but he was an up-and-coming comedian, and I think if it wasn't at the Apollo, it was an all-black audience, and they were being ruthless. Everybody that was going up there was just bombing, and they were booing them, and they were just running them off stage. Well, Bernie went out, and throughout his whole set, it's amazing to watch. You got to YouTube it. He would stop and look him dead in the eye and go, "I am scared of you motherfuckers." And then the DJ would play a little beat, and Bernie would dance, and he'd cut him off, and he'd go, "I am scared of you motherfuckers." And he would go and do a next bit, and they fucking loved it. I mean, this crowd is amazing. They're going insane, and that was his breakthrough moment.
So, you know what? There's something about self-confidence, in the black room. I mean, you know,
that's what it was.
You got to go to the neighborhood. You got to park your car. You got to walk past the people on the street. You got to go into the club, and everybody's looking at you. Everybody's going to say, "Okay, who are you?" Now, fortunately, I grew up in Flint, and fortunately, I went to a black junior high school, so I look fairly comfortable, even though I don't sound urban. I left that a long time ago. but I look
but
fairly
you've had that
confident, which
experience.
helps.
Yeah.
But addressing the situation, saying, I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is a situation. And then they go, yeah, it is. I just want to make it to my car. That's all I'm thinking. As long as I address it right up front, then they like you. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think once they like you, then they're more willing to go on that ride with you.
Absolutely. I believe likability in any room. I mean, you got to be likable right away. I mean, I always, one of the things that I like to do, and I don't know if some people would call it a trick, but it's genuine to me, is that when I'm getting ready to be called on stage, I like to go stand in the audience. And when the MC is bringing me up, I'll talk a little bit to the tables. They'll be like, this next guy, he's traveled around. And I'm like, I'll just nudge somebody at the table and be like, I don't know about this tonight, or just something goofy so they know that I'm the guy.
I did that once in Bonto's room. I was walking up and there was a guy at a table that I had seen, and he had talked to me after a show before. And I was walking up, and it's Flint, and I'm from Flint, so that helps. But, Bonto does these long introductions. All of a sudden, he's going to tell another joke. So I got stuck by this table. So I bent over and was whispering to this guy a little bit on the way up. And people saw me doing that. So it looked like I was friendly and interacting with the crowd. And when I got up there, I said, I'm from Flint. I've been here before. It's like coming home. As soon as I did it, they accepted me, liked me, and then they were in for the journey.
Yep, every show I do. As soon as even when the MC says he's getting ready to wrap up or whatever, I just go to I don't make a big deal. I go to the back of the room and I start. I just nudge people and I'll high five them and I'll say, "You ready?
That's
you
smart.
ready?" And then they're laughing. They're already laughing because they know what I'm going to do. And when he's giving me my intro,
right.
This guy has done this and he's hilarious. If they say, "Oh, he's hilarious," I look at somebody and go, "I don't know, we'll see," something like that. And I try to high five as many of them as I can. And another thing that I like to do is when I'm walking on stage, I address the audience before I address the MC. I always wave to the audience first.
Oh.
I always turn, wave to the audience, and then I go to the MC because I feel like they should be my main focus.
That's awesome. That's a great idea. You know what? Now, I got to tell you, when we were on tour, when I went on that little open mic tour with Billy Reno, and we did the whole country, we did some pro shows, but we did a lot of open mics, so we're in a new town every day. I mean, we did, 30 shows in 90 days, just from, from here to Key West to L.A., back across to Orlando, and then back up. So we did just a shitload of shows. But as we were starting this thing, we were always in a new town. So it wasn't our hometown. We couldn't identify with them. We didn't know anybody in the audience. And Billy started doing this thing at the beginning of the tour where he'd try and say something about the city or the town or the area we were in. But what he was saying was kind of, I don't want to say it was sarcastic, but it was kind of a ridiculous statement. Like we were in Nashville for one of the early shows. And he said, "What, are you people into music or something? What?" Like that. Thinking that was funny, but the people were offended, like, "What the hell, dude? You don't know about Nashville?" Because they'd say we're from out of town. And so he would dig himself a hole by insulting the people in the room, not badly and not on purpose, trying to make a joke about it. But the joke was just a little bit out of touch, a little bit, and we called it Renoing the Room. And I'd say, dude, hilarious. Do not reno the room. Don't go up there. And first thing you do, insult the people. Go up there and say, this is a great crowd or something. Don't go up there and make some little insulting joke about their city or their culture or something like that. But honestly, it was a lesson learned. And actually, he did that about 4 or 5 times. And we finally named it Renoing the Room. And I said, okay, dude. No renoing the room tonight, remember that? But it was like doing the opposite of what you're supposed to do starting out, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, I see what his angle was, and you gotta. I think with that, not to talk. I think Billy's a great comedian. His album is hilarious, and I think he's doing well. Yeah, I was in Portland, Michigan, a couple of months ago, and I got off the expressway and I'm pulling into town. And I see there's Tom's Market, Tom's Pharmacy, and Tom's Do It Center.
Yeah.
So I started my I started my set talking about how Tom's the fucking man in Portland. Apparently, you know, he's got a market, he's got a farm, he's got a do it center. What the fuck is that? And they just loved it. You know, they loved it because I wasn't insulting anybody. You know, I was just pointing out. You know, it was legit, and I'm sure they probably heard other people. It was right when you get off the expressway, you get off I think it's 69. It might be 94, but you get off the Portland exit and you'll see it. It's like it's right across the stoplight you have to stop at, and it'll say Tom's Market, Tom's Pharmacy, and Tom's Do It Center.
That's awesome.
So yeah, you know, like just little things like that I try to look at in towns and try to figure out, you know, like what the thing is that everybody could probably laugh at, but like, try not to be insulting. Or just the thing that's like, hey, this is weird. Why, you know, we all have to think this is weird. If you can't do it in the room, do it in the town, you know?
Right. Well, you know, Josh Adams is kind of a master of being in the moment and talking about the room and everything. And he's so natural about it. And I had conflicting information. After I did stand up a few times at open mics, I did the comedy class, and Bill Bouchard, godfather of comedy, was the instructor. And he said, be funny fast. Now we were doing a 5-minute set. Or 6-minute set or something like that. And so I always remembered that I should be funny fast. But as I started doing longer sets, and I'm doing like 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. And I was doing some shows with Sal D'Amelio. Love Sal. What a great guy, Sal. Yeah. And Sal gave me a bit of advice. He said, dude, you're scaring the audience. Don't be funny so fast. First say hello. You know, you're walking out and just putting a joke out there. Dude, just talk to him for a second. You know, 30 seconds. Give him 30 seconds of conversation before you hit him with your first joke. Just say hello, how you guys doing? Or just something more natural. And which is the exact opposite of what Bill was having me do. He's just joke. And actually, I got to where I had 57 laugh points in my 7-minute set. Now, they weren't all jokes. Some were tags, but I counted them all up, and not all of them hit. But if I could get 20 laughs in 7 minutes, I figured I was doing pretty good, you know, and it depends on the crowd and whatever works. So I had a lot of laugh points in, but it meant I had to start really quick. And I think that's one of the problems with new comedians. They talk too fast. Like, I talk really fast, you talk really fast by nature, and it's hard not to get way ahead of the crowd by just rattling off stuff and not letting them catch up and kind of be with you on the ride.
Yeah, I can't remember what comedian. It might have been Landau, but I can't. Maybe I just read this in a book. Maybe I just read it in a book, but I always think about this on stage, and it seems to sometimes work for me. If you think you're going too slow, go slower.
Yeah, you know what? I think who said that? I think I don't know, it was Jay Leno or somebody said that as a bit of advice. I must have read it in a book, but I always like that because I do try to talk slower on stage. I do try to get that mindset. I try to pause a lot. But if I'm really killing, if I'm really in the moment, then sometimes I'm just natural and I start getting, and then sometimes I'll have that thing in my head where it's like, go slower, go slower. And I just always like, if you think you're going too slow, go slower. Right. Because the audience, especially in theaters, I learned that from Norm Stalls, and I can't remember, somebody else told me that too. If you're in a theater, you got to make everything, you're small in a huge spot. So everything, you got to play up everything. Everything's got to be played up. It's got to be slowed down a little bit. Oh, okay,
and it kinda, cool. Because you're just a small little dot. And I was lucky enough to do the brouhaha last year, which was at the Dow Event Center, 2,000 people. It's funny you mentioned Sal.
Where's the brouhaha?
At the Dow Event Center. They do it every January. It's usually the third weekend of January. It's Kevin Kramus hosts it every year. And then they have an early show Friday with two other comedians, Kevin and two others, and then a late show Friday with Kevin and two others, and early show Saturday and late show Saturday. So 4 shows, and then there'd be 4 different comedians each night, and then Kevin. And it was funny because 2 years ago I went and Dave Landau was there, and Sal and Tom McCarthy, and I can't remember the other one, but and so Sal, who's been a really good help for me, has become a good friend. I saw him out in the lobby, and I said, Sam, this is amazing. Congratulations. And he said, you'll get here. And I said, what? And he said, you'll be on that stage before you know it. And that planted the seed.
Yeah.
And so I asked Landau, and then in turn, he got me hooked up with the booker and everything, and I was able to do it. But I don't even know. I guess you said fail. It just made me think like.
Well, no. You were talking about doing a show where it's a big theater and you had to slow things down.
Mm-hmm. And then I was asking people around about like, hey, what do you do? And like, I've never been in front of 2,000 people before, and they
was
said,
it 2,000 in the audience?
Yeah, it was sold out, and
Holy
at least
shit.
2,000. Now, there was a snowstorm that night, so they were predicting, when you looked out, it looked like 2,000, but they were predicting it was probably more around 1,800 just because some people didn't come because of the snowstorm, but it was definitely packed.
Wow,
And,
that's awesome. That's really cool. I don't think I've ever performed for more than about 200 or 300 max.
Yeah, other than that, I haven't. Yeah, for sure.
I did a lot of public speaking, and I know that from my public speaking background that I always learned to talk very slow because I have a tendency to be fast when you're talking to a big group. And actually, when my kids were running for office and campaigning for different things at school, and they had to do some public speaking, I talked to them and had them rehearse, and I talked to them about slowing things down. But if you've watched my comedy, and I have bits like Finder, Chatter, Caller, where I'm just rattling that stuff off fast.
Yeah. And I don't know. That works fast.
Yeah.
It works fast.
I don't know. Sometimes I do it too fast, I think. I don't know. I have really high speed if you want to go there. At one time, I was always thinking I'm trying to beat people to the punchline so they won't figure out where I'm going in this misdirection. So I got to do it fast. But I don't know that that's true. I think you can go quite slow because I found that I did a thing. What was it? It was called about taking tours of my own house, being old and going and walking into a room going, nice room. Not really sure why I'm in here. And I go, and in the routine, I do this circle in my house where I'm going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And then I go around the circle again. So they know exactly what I'm going to say. And anticipation that I'm going to say those words, the pregnant pause actually helps, even though they know what I'm going to say. So that kind of taught me that it's not speed. It's not beating them to the statement. It's having the timing correct that makes it fun.
Yeah, I think with your Finder fucker or whatever.
Finder, Chatter, Caller. Finder, Chatter, Caller is a polite way to call that.
Yeah. See, I was going with the dirtier version.
That's the part you remembered was the fucker part of it. Yeah.
The cadence in that I think would work faster. You know what I mean? Because you're going through so many words, and you're right. It's probably, I always thought it was funny. So I mean, my recall on it was that you're telling it great, but I mean, there probably would be an instance where you could probably slow it down. I'm sure, but that goes with every joke. Like we said, if you think you're going too slow, go slower. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. Hey, I want to get out of here, but before I get out of here, I want to ask you one last thing because I'm old, lonely, and horny. I ask all my guests. I ask all my guests about this. I want to know if you have any sincere, not joking, but any sincere dating advice for me, being an old man looking for companionship.
Have you tried males? I'm kidding, Ted. I'm kidding.
No, that's okay. I'll put a rim shot in the recording for you there.
You just said sincere, and I was like,
I know, yeah. I know. The problem is all my friends are comedians, so I get a lot of that shit.
Man, I don't know. I was always terrible at dating. Terrible. I always just wanted to. I always just wanted to be the girl's friend. I always treated guys and girls the same. I mean, when I'm talking to them, when if I had a friend that was a girl at the bar, I would just, hey, what's up, man? Never flirty. I'm not a flirty guy.
Well, didn't you get stuck in the friend zone a lot?
Yeah, but I was fine with that because I didn't, I always thought I would be single forever, and I was happy with that. My thing was, I have my motorcycle, I'll have an apartment, and I'm just naturally a happy person. And I'm okay. I've always been cool with being alone. I'm in my head all the time anyway. I mean, there's a lot of crazy going on in there and a lot of arguments happening. There's a lot of drama, there's a lot of drama.
All with yourself. You don't need somebody else to argue with you. You're arguing with yourself.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I can sit in a room alone and freaking argue for hours.
Like, God, I'm mad at me. I hate me right now.
Hey, and so,
I'm an asshole. Why the hell am I doing that? What's wrong with me? Yeah, I think I'll do it again.
So it would always take, like, the girl would always almost have to say something to me first. And most of the time I would think that they were just kidding anyway, and rush it off. And, but like,
what? Hold on. They're like, hey, dude, you want to do this or not? I mean, do they get to that point? Like, yeah, I think we ought to do something more than talk.
I think I will always just give off the friend vibe anyway, just not trying. I don't know. I just never. I mean, of course, I had girlfriends and stuff, and but it would always have to be like pretty blatant. Like somebody would have to come up and be like, "Hey, she likes you, right?" And I'm like, "Oh." Then I would be able to think about them that way.
Is that what's going on? I was wondering why she's removing her clothes every time we get together.
Yeah, no,
I thought it was just some kind of weird thing she did.
And so I don't know. I mean, dating advice, and you're what, about 60?
Oh, dude, I'm so old. I'm 67.
67? Well, you don't look it.
Yeah, you haven't seen me naked. I will send you some pictures, dude. I look all of 67. No, actually, you know what? Actually, I do. I've always looked young. And my ex-wife is 55, and nobody ever guessed that we weren't the same age. And I think it's a blessing. And also, my family, we lived till we're quite old. I mean, my mom did everything wrong, lived into her 90s. So I'm going to be 100 before I die. So I got a lot of years left. And also, I'm pretty damn active for my age. So I like dating younger. But I find if I misrepresent my age to find somebody that I would want to date, then at some point I got to tell them, and that sucks. If I come right out and tell them how old I am right up front, then they don't want to date me because I'm too damn old. So, I mean, I'm getting hellos from 70-year-old women, dude. Can you imagine me hanging out with a 70-year-old woman? I mean, what? We're gonna go to Cracker Barrel. We're gonna rock. What the fuck?
If
that's
I
not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, if I didn't know your age, I would guess you were probably 50.
Thank you. You have poor vision and bad judgment, but thank you, Tommy.
I don't. Yeah, that would be. I see your thing. What's your age range? What are you looking for?
Well,
are you going too young?
No. I would not date anybody under 50. Really, 52 to about 62, I think is my range. But
definitely.
I just met somebody that's 59, but on that profile, on that website, because I've been on all the websites, I actually had 2 profiles where I changed my age down a little bit by like 5 years. I was 62, and I met somebody that was 59. She figured out I was really 67, and then she was mad at me for misrepresenting my age. And I tried to tell her it was strategic because I'm going to live longer, and I don't act 67, so... And I've got young kids. I mean, my youngest daughter is 23. So I'm kind of in that group anyhow. But it's a lot of explaining. It's all of a sudden I'm pleading. And I'm like, which doesn't work. Women aren't looking for men that are pleading. So I don't know. The problem is everybody is dating by way of statistics. Here's my stats. Here's my background. Do you want to go out with me? And it used to be you'd run into somebody and you go, hey, you look nice and you're kind of fun. Let's have a drink. And then if we had fun doing that, this weekend I'm going to do this. You want to hang out and we'll go do this. And then you'd learn about their background and their family. Yeah, but now you're putting out a resume, for God's sakes. And my resume doesn't read so well. That's my problem.
I wonder if I've never online dated ever. I mean, I've been with my wife 8 years. Well, 8 years now.
Beautiful woman and a very tolerant because she's with you, and she must be pretty smart because she's got a good job. So you kind of hit the jackpot.
Dude, she's so smart and she's so funny. I mean, she's way funnier than I could ever dream of being. And so
Really?
I think she's helped me out so much. I mean, like, she'll come to a show when she can. She's usually busy. And then, like, we got 2 daughters. So, I mean, they're both in sports. So, a lot of times when I go, if I'm more than 2 or 3 hours away, then she usually doesn't go because she's usually getting the girls ready for a sports or a high school dance or something.
What sports are they in?
But what's that?
What sports are they in?
The 13-year-old is in softball, year-round basketball. She plays on a travel league, and then of course school basketball and volleyball. And the 16-year-old is softball, volleyball, basketball, and then they're both on a travel softball league. So
sounds like they're both very athletic. Are they looking for college scholarships? Do they want to play in college?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they both take their grades really well, and honestly, they're the reason why I've really had to mentally step up my game in comedy, because I can't. They are both so competitive within themselves to be the best. They're both very sweet and very friendly girls, but they don't like to lose, and they want to be the best all the time. And so that's really brought out like more of a confidence in me too. I mean, I can't come, I got to show them that I'm doing something productive too. I'm not just leaving on the weekends to go get drunk with some buddies and make $50 at a bar. This is my job.
Yeah, and that shows them how serious you are about your job. Hey, listen, Tommy, it's been great to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thanks. Can I plug my website too?
Yes.
It's TomEThompson.com. So TOMETHOMPSON.com. So you'll see all the dates that I was supposed to be at.
Yeah. And on those dates, you can just laugh alone at home, even though I'm not telling jokes.
Right.
Hey, is your real name first name Tom, or is it really Thomas?
It's Thomas Edwards. So that's where the Tom E comes in, because there's a comedian in Minnesota named Tom E Thompson, and that's Tommy, and I've always been Tommy. And when I first started working for a funny business agency that's out of Grand Rapids, that's nationwide, and then they took me on. They used to do a lot more with MCs. I don't think they feature me now, but I mean, the MC thing, I don't know if they do it as much as they used to. But when 7, 8 years ago, when I first got hooked up as an MC through them, they were sending me down to Ohio a lot, and that Tommy Thompson from Minnesota was traveling to Ohio as like a headliner. And so they asked me to change my name. I actually went to Connections, that's not there anymore, in Toledo, Connections Comedy Club, and some people had come out to see Tommy Thompson because my name was spelled Tommy Thompson. They were laughing about it. They thought it was funny. They were like, we really thought it was funny that he was the MC, because last time he was here, he was the headliner.
The headliner.
So
he's been demoted.
So everybody had a good laugh about it. And then Steve Sabo, who's out of Ohio as well, brought me on as he's the first agent to hook me up as a feature. And he's an excellent comedian in his own right, too. And he said, dude, you got to change your name. He said, I can't put Tommy Thompson because I got the other Tommy Thompson coming to these places, too. And so, my middle name is Edward. And that way I can keep the pronunciation. And I talked to Tommy Thompson from Minnesota, and he said, yeah, absolutely. He's like, that's cool. He's like, I don't care. And
he was spelling it Tommy, right?
Tommy. That's how I always done it, too. So I don't really like the middle initial. It seems like a little pompous maybe or something. I don't know. It seems like I'm trying to be like, oh, I'm Tom E,
No. I thought it was clever. I don't think it's pompous. Actually, my middle initial is D. So I'm actually Ted D. Moss.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. So you got the same thing going on. Yeah. So we can keep the pronunciation if we want to go with because I've always felt that I'm like, I'm just I don't know, I'm too proper for a Thomas, and I'm too I don't know, I'm too proper for a Tom and too straight for a Thomas, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not.
There you go.
And so Tommy is just how I pronounce it, but yeah, so the website is just Tom middle and then the middle initial E, but it all flows together as Tom E Thompson.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my email addresses is Ted with a D and then Moss, Ted D Moss. But if I say Teddy Moss, cool. then people get confused and they're putting Y's in it, and like then I got to explain it's middle, it's the initial, and well, it's like Ted Talks Too Much. How you got to say the number 2. Ted Talks Too Much with the number 2. Ted Talks Too Much.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, you know what? My son thought I couldn't use TED Talks 2 because I'd get sued by TED Talks.
Oh, right. I didn't think about that, but that could be a possibility.
Well, I hope they sue me. God, there'd be instant fame, dude. Do you know how many millions of people if I get sued by TED Talks? It'd be awesome for me.
Any publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah, but I registered the websites TEDTalks2.com and TEDTalks2much.com. I own both those, so I think I got a claim. I think I got a claim to it, and also in mine, it's a verb, and it's a noun. They're TED Talks. They're TED Lectures.
Oh, okay, right.
And mine's like the name of this episode will be TED Talks to Tom E Thompson. Well, I retired from stand-up. I'm not doing stand-up anymore. You know it, right?
Yeah. I mean, are you fully done?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I got called out to do 2 shows in December, and I'm kind of relieved not to be doing it. I'm digging the podcasting thing. I'm liking talking to people. I got a lot of really interesting friends like you, and I love talking. I love listening and learning about people, and so I'm having fun doing this. So, I got enough money where I can have pizza every Friday until I die, as long as I die within the next 15 years.
Well, your family lives too long, so.
Exactly. Well, then we'll have socialism. You're going to be buying my pizza.
There we go.
Hey, thanks for being on the show, Tommy.
Well, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
I appreciate it, man. Best of luck. I hope your shows are up and running again. We'll look forward to seeing you. I hope everybody goes to your website, TomEThompson.com, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll stay in touch. It's really good being with you, Tommy. Have a good one, man.
Thanks. You too, Ted.
All right. Later. All right. We've got to get out of here. But I do want to give a special thanks to today's guest, Mr. Tom E Thompson. Isn't he a nice guy? Who knew there were so many nice people in stand-up comedy? And listen, if you were entertained, you know where to find me. You can always go to TEDTalks2much.com. That's with the number 2. You can also seek me out on YouTube on my new channel, TED Talks Too Much. That's kind of a cool thing because you can actually sort out all the previews and help you decide which episode you want to listen to. And of course, all my funny friends are there. And if you have a comment, feel free to leave it. If you want to get in contact with me directly, send me an email to tedtalks2much@yahoo.com and I will respond. But until we talk again, take care of yourself, be safe, hunker down, and just try to be happy. Until next time, as usual, I'm Ted Moss, and those are my thoughts.